situation with Russia and how scary it's getting. Don't go too far. See you soon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Looking ahead, it's going to be a rather cool, fresh night ahead for many. A different story in the southwest, though, quite a warm night to come. And that leads us into a dry, settled day on Monday. Very similar conditions to what we've had this afternoon, all thanks to a ridge of high pressure stretching across the country. Far fewer isobars on the chart as well, so much lighter winds for many of us. Plenty of late evening sunshine to finish off the day. Clear skies across Scotland, northern and eastern parts of England, so turning much cooler here overnight, particularly across Scotland. Some temperatures here not pushing much below the mid to low single figures, so feeling much cooler by Monday morning. But it's a very different story across southern parts of Wales, southwest England. A warm night to come, temperatures not dropping much past the mid single figures. So a warm start here to start off the day, but actually plenty of bright, if not sunny spells. We do have this stretch of cloud across parts of Wales, central and southeast England. This could produce some showers. We may even hear the odd rumble of thunder. Quite a fine start across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, and also across Scotland, but like I say, quite a chilly start. But actually through Monday, many of us will see another dry, settled day with some sunny spells. We do just have to keep an eye on these showers as they drift their way northeastwards. Once again, the odd spark of lightning associated with those. And then later into the day across the northwest, clouding over here. Once again, the odd shower or two expected. But where we see the brighter weather in the light winds, once again, it will be feeling warm. Highs reaching into the mid-single figures across much of England and Wales, though a little bit fresher across some northeastern coasts and eastern areas of Scotland. Now, through the course of the night, this band of thicker cloud will start to produce some more outbreaks of rain as it drifts its way northeastwards, a few showers starting to push into the west. And this is a very similar pattern to what we'll see next week, some showers and cloud at times, but actually temperatures increasing day by day, turning rather warm by the end of the week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to grab a chance to live the summer of your dreams.
With a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in tax-free cash to be won.
Someone really has to win it, and it could be you.
For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, it's 1 o'clock on Sunday, the 14th of June, and this is the weekend on GB News. We've got a packed show coming up, starting with British forces boarding a Russian Shadow Fleet tanker in the English Channel. Dramatic footage, really is, overnight operation, being hailed as another blow to Putin's war machine by Sir Keir Starmer, who was personally involved. And Nigel Farage is proposing a major shake-up of social housing rules, saying British veterans and local residents should be moved to the front of the queue. It comes as new analysis suggests more than 100,000 fouled asylum seekers could be living in the UK after not being removed from the country. And the Prime Minister finally discovers his spherical object and overrules Ed Miliband on electric cars. Sir Keir Starmer is set to soften Britain's electric vehicle targets after warnings over jobs and investments. Meanwhile, new figures show junior doctors' sick leave has surged by 40%. Are they burnt out or simply letting their patients down? Yeah, and it was GB News' birthday yesterday, and today it's Donald Trump's turn. He's turning 80. But what has he got planned for the occasion? Well, have all the details on that one. And it's victory for Scotland in the World Cup as they beat Haiti in their opening game of the tournament. There were scenes of jubilation as John McGinn secured the nation's first World Cup win in 36 years. They are topping the group. I'm pleased for them. I'm Dawn Neeson, this is The Weekend. In any case, thank you so much for your company this very, very sunny, I hope it's sunny where you are. It seems to be the forecast quite good over the country this sunny summer Sunday. So I know there's loads of stuff to do. So if you are sort of like, taking time to spend a couple of hours with me, thank you so much. Always appreciate it. And as I always say, if you are out and about, we're on the radio as well. And we're on your laptops and your iPads and there's no escape, basically. But you owe it to yourself to take a couple of hours out on a Sunday and just chill. Have a chat with me, because that's what I'm here for. gbnews.com/yoursay, or scan that QR code. We're talking about all the big stories of the day. And to be honest with you, because it's a Sunday lunchtime, anything you want to have a natter about, that's what I'm here for. Let me know your thoughts on anything you want. Come on, let's chill together. All of that, in any case, coming up after the news headlines with the very wonderful Sophia Wednesday, who looks gorgeous in pink today.
Thank you very much, Dawn, and good afternoon. Your headlines from the GB Newsroom. British armed forces have intercepted and seized a Russian Shadow Fleet oil tanker in the English Channel in the early hours of this morning. Sir Keir Starmer confirmed Royal Marine Commandos and specially trained officers boarded the vessel, supported by the RAF. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has since thanked the UK for intercepting the vessel. It will now be held and monitored off the south coast of England. Russia has been operating a shadow fleet of tankers to evade international sanctions imposed on its oil exports since its war with Ukraine. The new Defence Secretary has said he is determined to get the armed forces the funding they need after his predecessor quit over Labour's military spending plans. In an interview with The Telegraph, Dan Jarvis urged the government to meet the moment when it comes to the challenge of increasing defence spending. His appointment came after John Healey's shock resignation, which was triggered by an ongoing internal row over funding. In his resignation letter, Mr Healey suggested that the current defence investment plan proposed increasing defence spending by £13.5 billion. That's only 0.08% of GDP. Meanwhile, the Conservatives have urged Labour to cut welfare spending and redirect savings to defence. Shadow Defence Secretary James Cartledge spoke to GB News this morning.
Everyone knows that 0.08% is nothing like enough, and we know that John Healey himself, the previous Defence Secretary, thought that that's why he resigned. The threat is much greater, so we need to increase defence spending to 3%, and we think a big part of that has got to come from cutting welfare.
But Labour's Lisa Nandy defended her party's track record.
We've overseen the biggest sustained increase in defence spending since the Cold War. And when we first came into government, within weeks, we'd commissioned a strategic defence review.
President Donald Trump has said a peace deal between the US and Iran will be signed today to end the fighting and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian officials have told Reuters Tehran agrees not to produce or acquire nuclear weapons under the draft deal. Key mediator Pakistan also said the deal was expected to be finalised within 24 hours, and they were preparing for the electronic signing. Iran's foreign ministry, though, said Tehran must be cautious in commenting on the signing date. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takahashi has arrived at Downing Street for talks with the Prime Minister Keir Starmer ahead of next week's G7 summit. The leaders are expected to discuss areas of new investment between the UK and Japan during the visit. It comes amid reports Donald Trump will confront Keir Starmer over immigration at the summit. The US president is expected to press the Prime Minister and other European leaders on the matter after violent unrest in Belfast drew international attention. Nigel Farage has pledged to evict foreign nationals from council housing. Under the Reform leader's plans, migrants living in social housing would be given 3 months to find private accommodation or face being deported. Instead, veterans and long-term local residents will be given priority, along with domestic abuse survivors and care leavers. Writing on his Substack, Mr Farage claimed that guidelines in place for housing associations have led to a redistribution of housing stock away from the white British populations who had originally inhabited these areas. In the essay titled "Britain is a two-tier state against white people," Farage argues that there is nothing fair about the way white people have been treated by their governments. Reform UK's Suella Braverman backed the party leader's comments.
I think it's absolutely spot on. I'm afraid we can't say it's a bit much when a young man was brutally murdered, and a few weeks ago it's been exposed that the police treated a dying man harshly, cruelly and unfairly because of the colour of his skin.
Tommy Robinson has claimed that he's been detained at Heathrow under counter-terrorism laws. In a post on X, the right-wing activist said his phones have been seized and he was held for the best part of 3 hours. He went on to say it looks like more defence and court fees. Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, earlier this month gave a speech at a protest in Southampton over the murder of 18-year-old Henry Novak. A man has been arrested after a woman was injured in a suspected dog attack in Skegness. Police were called to Drummond Road last night, where officers found a woman with significant facial injuries and she was taken to hospital. They arrested a 40-year-old local man on suspicion of owning a dog dangerously out of control. 2 men have been charged after items were stolen from the England team's equipment while it was in transit at the World Cup in the US. Boots belonging to players, as well as balls and other training equipment, were stolen from a van. Mustafa Salek and Irfan Kamal each face 1 count of receiving stolen property, according to the Jackson County prosecutor. It's as Thomas Tuchel's side arrived in Kansas City yesterday with temperatures at 30 degrees Celsius and a tornado warning in place. Those are the headlines for now. Now it's back to Dawn.
Thank you very much, Sophia. She does look lovely in that pink, doesn't she? And I think it goes rather nice with my green. And just want to say good morning and, well, good afternoon. Gosh, it's flying already. To Bedford Babe, Gilly, James, David, Jill and Susan. Thank you so much for your messages. Do keep them coming in. I'm going to read as many out as I possibly can today because this show is all about you. But let's get stuck into the story, shall we? We'll start with that major announcement from Nigel Farage today. He says a Reform government would evict foreign nationals from council housing. Migrants would have 3 months to find private accommodation or face being booted out of the country. Priority for housing would then be given to veterans, domestic abuse survivors, care leavers and what Reform describe as long-term local residents. OK, so let's just dig a little bit deeper into this one, shall we? Let's talk to Lyndon Kemcaron, who is the former UK leader of Kent County Council. Lyndon, thank you so much for joining me this morning. This is a pretty sort of shocking announcement. It seems quite harsh. How's it going to work?
Is it shocking, Dawn? Is it shocking? I must admit, I read Nigel's new Substack and I just thought, hooray, at last, a political leader is talking common sense. A political leader has understood the pressures that we're facing in this country with our basic services that we all pay into through our taxes, don't forget, like social housing, being given away in such large numbers to people who, for the most part, are probably not British passport holders, not UK citizens. What on earth are they being given access to our precious social housing stock for? So I don't see it as shocking at all. I see it as long overdue. And this is the kind of policy if the Conservatives had the backbone and understood the mood of the nation when they were still in power and they'd implemented something like this, they would still be in power now. It is that important.
I could not agree more. It's Lyndon. Lyndon, I think it is important. But, I mean, I just don't understand the details. When I say it's shocking, it's a very broad statement. So, for example, like a poorly paid care worker, here legally, would she, because most of them are she, would she be deported?
We have to make some really tough choices now because the level of immigration into this country over the last 20-odd years has gone above and beyond the levels which we can cope with. We've seen an influx of people, some legally, a lot illegally. They've been allowed to come here. They've not been able to get jobs to support themselves in terms of being able to rent privately or buy housing, and they've been given access to our social housing stocks. Now, we didn't have enough social housing anyway, even before Labour opened the floodgates to this sort of wave of immigration. The stocks have always been low. And the thing is, successive governments have not reinvested enough money into building new stocks of what we used to call council houses, we now call social housing. So those resources are precious. If they are being used by people who have come into the country, then it means our indigenous population simply doesn't stand a chance. That is fundamentally unfair. So I think Nigel's proposals are absolutely spot on and long overdue.
It's certainly ticking boxes. Lots of people are agreeing with it, and I think in theory everybody would agree with it. But the problem I'm still having here, Lyndon, and it might just be me being thick, is how is it going to work? I mean, the front pages today, what is it, the Express, about how many illegal migrants we still have here. We seem impossible in this country to actually get things moving when it comes to illegal migration because of the lawyers. So how is this legally going to be working? Is reform going to introduce some sort of like American ICE-style enforcement agency where people are sort of like forcibly removed from their homes?
Well, I don't know about that. But last August, I think it was, Nigel and Zia held a big press conference called Operation Restoring Justice. They set out there the steps they were going to take, the steps we would take as a party to try and restore the balance. But I just want to address the other point you made just there, Dawn, about low-paid care workers. We have got to wean ourselves off the allure of cheap foreign labour. We become addicted to the drug of being able to import people, often from very poor countries overseas, to come here and do the jobs that British people don't want to do. Now, that's got us into all kinds of a pickle. It's driven down wages. You know, if you're a boss of a company and you've got access to cheap foreign labour, then guess what? You're not going to put your wages up, are you, in line with the cost of living? You're going to keep on paying the bottom price because that you can get away with it. We have a massive problem with benefits in this country. The benefit system, unfortunately, has made it far more attractive for British people to sit on their backsides on the sofa and claim benefits than go out to work and do those jobs that we need doing. So that's the pickle we've got ourselves into. Now, Nigel can see this very clearly. He's always seen this very clearly. He is now setting out the policies that are going to reverse this dreadful situation we've got ourselves into since the new Labour government came in 1997, almost 30 years ago. I can't quite believe that. It's been a gradual race to the bottom. The only people that have profited out of this are the big business owners who have had a constant influx of cheap foreign labour, first from the EU and now since Brexit from all over the world. It cannot carry on. It's not good for our economy. It's not good for our population. And it's just a race to the bottom. We have to sort it out.
No, Lyndon, I could not agree more with pretty much everything you've said. And we do have a huge problem with over 1 million young people who are not in education, training or work at the moment. So we could be putting those people to work, many of them on benefits for mental health, etc., etc. But how are you going to get them to go to work? If they don't want to do it, what are you going to do, force them?
Well, we've got to tackle this problem from many different angles. Now, the social housing is just one angle. We've also got to tackle the benefits system. We cannot have a system where you can earn more on benefits for an undefined diagnosis of mild anxiety or whatever than you can going out to work and working for the national minimum wage. That cannot be right. But I'm afraid that is a situation we're now in. Now, this government, this Labour government, knows that's the problem. But when Keir Starmer tried to make some very modest changes to the benefits system last year, he was prevented by a backbench rebellion, because I'm afraid we have a socialist government in Westminster now, and these are socialist policies. They want people to be dependent on the state, because guess what? When you have people completely dependent on the state for their income, their welfare, everything else, they are dependent on the state. They're going to keep on voting for those flavour of politicians. We've got to break this terribly, terribly destructive cycle. We've got to reintroduce a bit of personal responsibility back into life here in the UK, you know, like it used to be. If you didn't work, then you didn't earn, you didn't eat, that kind of thing. Sounds brutal, but we have to get back to a place where people take responsibility for themselves.
Very, very strong words there, Lyndon. Just quickly and finally, I mean, the criticism of this announcement today is that it's very strong words, reflecting a lot of what people are saying and thinking out there, understandably so. But is this just a panic reaction to the challenge to your party from Restore?
No, it's not. This is fundamentally what we believe in Reform UK. That's why I joined Reform, because I used to be a member of the Conservative Party until I realised they didn't have a clue what they stood for anymore. They'd forgotten what it means to be a right-of-centre party. You've got to have tough policies. Now, Nigel has been saying this for years. This is not a sudden Damascene conversion, you know, to a certain way of thinking. Nigel is one of the most trusted conviction politicians of his age. He hasn't changed his views just to get votes. This is what he truly believes in, unlike some other politicians I could mention.
OK, well, I mean, that's very fair to say. Lyndon, he certainly hasn't changed his viewpoints. Lyndon, thank you so much for joining us today. And that's Lyndon Kemp-Carron, who is the Reform UK leader of Kent Council. Thank you so much for joining us today. Very keen to hear what you think about this one, gbnews.com/your say. I know many of you, this is hitting to the heart of what you've been saying for a long time now. But can you understand how it's going to work? What's going to happen? What's going to happen to the care worker, for example, who's probably maybe looking after your elderly parents in a care home? Just so many questions on this one. Any case, let's move on, shall we? Because we've got some dramatic footage for you. Yeah, events in the English Channel where British armed forces intercepted a Russian Shadow Fleet vessel in the early hours of the morning. Royal Marine Commandos and specially trained law enforcement officers from the National Crime Agency boarded a sanctioned oil tanker during a 6-hour operation. It's the first UK-led operation of its kind and could represent an escalation in hostilities with Russia, which I'm sure nobody actually want. So now we're joined by Owen Matthews, who's the Associate Editor of The Spectator and the author of Overreach, the inside story of Putin's war on Ukraine. Thank you so much for joining me today, Owen. What do you make of this? So it's very dramatic footage that we've been showing this morning on GB News. What do you make of the actual operation?
Well, let's say for a start that it's good. It's better that the Royal Navy is intercepting Russian Shadow Fleet vessels than not. The problem is that actually this is political theatre, and it's going to make no difference for two reasons. One, there are 700 vessels in the so-called Shadow Fleet. Two, exporting or transporting Russian oil is not sanctioned. There's a price cap on Russian oil, but it's not illegal. So the idea that the Shadow Fleet is just this bunch of, some pirate ships flying Jolly Rogers, that's just wrong. The government has said that the tanker, the Smirtos, is flying a false Cameroonian flag. Well, I mean, how false is it? It's registered in Cameroon. Presumably, there may be some irregularities with the paperwork. But this tanker that's been boarded is going to be checked. The paperwork's going to be checked. And I would literally bet my house on the fact that it's going to be on its way to its destination in a few days, as all the so-called shadow fleet tankers that have been detained by the French and the Spanish have over the last few months.
I mean, I thought I was cynical, but congratulations. I think you beat me on the cynicism front this morning. What particularly intrigued me about this story, as dramatic as it was, and the fact it made headlines, understandably so, is that the statement Keir Starmer put out saying that he had personally directed the interception. Now, given the week he's had with the defence situation and losing to our highly respected people in defence over the defence plan we have in this country, the timing is, it has to be said, slightly suspicious.
Well, it's not suspicious at all. It's completely obvious, Dawn. I mean, you can literally track. I mean, there was a very high. You know, if you're going to have helicopters in the air, you know, videographers filming the operation, and you know, dramatic footage of people sort of going down ships' gangways with you know, guns you know, at the ready, you can be absolutely sure that there's, you know, a summit or a political crisis. I mean, precisely the same thing happened when Emmanuel Macron last year ordered, you know, very dramatic boarding of a shadow fleet vessel just off the coast of Saint-Nazaire in France on the eve of a EU summit in Copenhagen about energy security. I mean, it's just political theatre.
I was trying to give him some benefit of the doubt there, Owen. You literally shot me down in flames, seeing as we are talking about this. It is ridiculous. I mean, I think most people are reacting the same way as we both had this morning. It is almost farcical. But the situation with Russia, how worried should we be about this situation?
Well, we should be very worried about the situation. The bottom line is that the reason why this is a political theatre and why shutting down the, you know, Britain, Sir Keir Starmer personally attempting to shut down the flow of money to the Kremlin, why is that nonsense and BS? The reason is that actually the EU collectively has spent far more money, 206 billion euros roughly, on Russian oil and gas since the beginning of the war. That's crazy. You know, Europe has collectively spent much more money, has given much more money to Putin's war machine than it has to Ukraine's war effort. And to this day, for instance, Russian liquefied natural gas is not sanctioned at all. Further, European imports of Russian LNG, liquefied natural gas, have gone up 17% this year alone. And guess what? British companies, particularly a UK-based company called Seaspeak, transports 37% of all of the LNG produced in the Yamal gas field. And guess what? Newsflash, a lot of that European natural gas, liquefied natural gas, does not go to the UK. The UK doesn't import it, but it transits the UK. It's landed in Milford Haven in Wales, the Isle of Grain in Kent, and it's transported to Europe as regasified piped gas. So Britain is literally a linchpin in that 45 to 50 billion euro European import trade of Russian gas. So let's just put that, you know, the fact that Britain is, you know, deeply involved in facilitating the import of Russian LNG with this sort of theatrical performance in the channel. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, which leads me to my final question for you, Owen. I mean, you know, you've just explained that situation. We're literally funding both sides in the Ukraine war, whether we like it or not. And the fact that this is all, as you say, performative. Does Keir Starmer think we're stupid?
Yeah, actually, I think so. He did the same thing in December. You know, there was a bit of a ruckus. I forgot exactly the premise, but in December, there was the issue about getting tough on Russia and getting tough on Putin. What did Starmer do? He said, like, well, we're going to insist that Roman Abramovich's frozen money from the sale of Chelsea Football Club is sent to Ukraine. Well, I mean, Roman Abramovich is not the Kremlin. The fact that the money is frozen has no legal basis, by the way. I mean, I don't particularly carry a torch for Abramovich. He's a controversial personality. But the point is that Sir Keir Starmer thinks that getting tough on an individual Russian or getting tough on an individual oil tanker that happens to be carrying Russian oil is sort of, Fugazi style, going to be interpreted as getting tough on Putin, is indeed, aimed at people who are not very well informed and who sort of confuse that with actually truly getting on tough on Russia, which the UK isn't really doing.
OK. I mean, I would love to say it's great to talk to you. You've really cheered me up this morning, but to be honest with you, you haven't. But thanks for being slightly more cynical than me. I appreciate that. That's Owen Matthews, who's the associate editor of The Spectator and author of Overreach, the inside story of Putin's war on Ukraine. Thank you so much for joining us. OK, well, I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is GB News, and there is lots more coming up on today's show. Sir Keir Starmer, yes, him again, is preparing to hit the brakes on Britain's electoral vehicle target. He's standing up to Ed Miliband. We're looking to reports he's set to water down the policy and putting him at odds with Ed Miliband. But who's going to come out the winner in this one? All of that and much more. This is GB News at Britain's News Channel. We'll see you very soon.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. We can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again. To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the Weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company today. Lots of you getting in touch about that story about Keir Starmer personally getting involved to stop that Shadow Fleet Russian tanker. Lots of you going, he can't stop all those small boats, though, coming across the channel, can he? Very fair point, well made. OK, let's move on to talk about, Keir Starmer again. He's expected to water down Britain's electric vehicle sales after warnings about job losses, factory investment and the cost of switching, going against Energy Secretary Ed Miliband. Well, he couldn't go against Ed Miliband when it comes to funding for defence over the green issues, but hey, when it comes to cars and the unions being upset, he's suddenly changed his tune. Joining me now is motor trade expert Fraser Brown to explain what exactly all this means. Fraser, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. Fraser, he's finally found the spherical objects he needs to overrule Ed Miliband, but what does it actually mean for the electric car market?
OK, I think the biggest thing to highlight with this country is the chaos in politics has a hugely dramatic effect on industrial strategy. So if we look at the Chinese, who go back kind of 20 or 30 years in their planning towards electric vehicle production line creation, they kind of have consistent policy over many, many years. Now, in terms of the ZEV mandate, we've seen this change so many times that as an industry, it's pretty devastating for us, because creating a car, doing the research and development, building a supply chain and a factory takes a decade. And we're having to be expected to react to things that are changing kind of every few months at the moment. You know, there was no acceleration on the consultation about the ZEV mandate that came out of this government only weeks ago. And now what we're seeing all of a sudden is noises about a potential change. I think it's really important to directly address your question about consumers. This isn't a change. We're not moving away from electric vehicles. This is a slowdown, a sensible and very slight slowdown in terms of the pace of adoption, because ultimately we still have to achieve 90% reduction in emissions from tailpipes on cars over the coming years. And that will happen. And what we've seen since the Iran war is a huge adoption of electric vehicles, because customers can save between 70 and 90% of what they're paying at the fuel pumps by moving to electric if they can access domestic overnight charging. So I'm not surprised this government's chaotic. I think we're better off with the Prime Minister we have than any of the alternatives that are lining up in the wings. But it doesn't surprise me that they've made a further change. So I think it's probably not bad news for consumers. It's very good news from an industry perspective, because it's back to where we were when Rishi Sunak implemented the slight changes to what were in place that were put in place by Boris Johnson. So from my perspective, it is broadly welcome, but we're on an ever changing path towards electric vehicles anyway. So it's just a slowdown is the way I would see it.
OK, Fraser, it would be nice to think that the government and Keir Starmer has listened to the concerns of the car industry. But I suspect the fact that it generates 25 billion for the economy and directly responsible for 183,000 jobs is more to do the fact that the unions are on the car industry side rather than Keir Starmer's side. So this isn't about listening to you and realising how dangerous it is and damaging it is for your industry. It's about being worried about losing the union and how much they fund Labour.
Well, that's the thing. Unite is the biggest funder of the Labour Party. Unite pretty much call the shots at the most senior level, and ultimately, you know, the fact that they're talking about this being doing the right thing for the environment and listening to business, this government's pretty much destroyed business. It's destroyed the growth engine of this economy and of the UK, and the amount of tax, minimum wage increases, stealth taxes that are piled on top of us, and then this flip-flopping of industrial strategy. You know, from my perspective, it's absolutely, you know, devastating to the industry, it's devastating to the economy. And ultimately, let's be really clear here, the people that suffer are the workers. It's the people that are, you know, employed by people like me who are not, I'm not able to employ more people, I'm not able to grow my business because in the motor industry, things are changing so much all of the time. And I've got huge increases in minimum wage. I've got huge increases in taxation. You know, I pay about 5 or 6 times what I earn in tax in terms of all of the taxes they load onto my business. I have VAT at tens of thousands of pounds a month. I have payroll taxes. I have the impact of minimum wage. I have the impact of ongoing corporation tax. It's utterly endless. And for a business that is kind of turning over, not a huge amount, to pay more than 25% of what we turn over in tax is really, really difficult to take. So no, this is definitely not the government getting conscious about business. This is about pleasing Unite.
OK, thanks so much for joining us and good luck with the business. That's Fraser Brown, the motor trade expert and one of the working people that Labour promised to say we're looking after. Thanks so much, Fraser. OK, I'm Dawn Neeson on GB News and there's plenty more coming up on today's show. But first, it's time for the latest news headlines with Sophia Wendler.
Dawn, thank you. Headlines at 1:33. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has praised Sir Keir Starmer after UK armed forces intercepted a Russian Shadow Fleet oil tanker in the English Channel in the early hours of this morning. It will now be held and monitored off the south coast of England. The new Defence Secretary has said he's determined to get the armed forces the funding they need after his predecessor quit over Labour's military spending plans. It comes as Kemi Badenoch has called on Sir Keir Starmer and Labour leadership hopefuls to cut welfare spending and redirect savings to defence. President Donald Trump has said a peace deal between the US and Iran will be signed today to end the fighting and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's foreign ministry, though, said Tehran must be cautious in commenting on the signing date. Police have arrested 6 activists after a pro-Palestine rally outside a synagogue in North London. Footage on social media shows police detaining protesters after a clash occurred outside of Edgware United Synagogue in London this morning, while others were seen holding framed images of Iran's Ayatollah. 2 men have been charged after items, including boots and balls, were stolen from the England team's equipment at the World Cup in the US. Mustafa Salek and Irfan Kamal each face 1 count of receiving stolen property, according to the Jackson County prosecutor. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you very much, Sophia. Now, and thank you for your company this Sunday lunchtime. As always, I'm going to change it to the Sunday sesh. Do you think it's got a good ring to it? Anyway, it's a nice chilled Sunday. Hope you're having a lovely weekend out there. Don't forget, though, this show is all about you. gbnews.com/your say. Scan the QR code thingy, get in touch. Let's have a natter about whatever you want to talk about. There's lots more coming up on today's show, though, don't worry. Junior doctors, resident doctors, what we're meant to call them, I don't know, because they're not actually at work at the moment. Sick leave has surged by almost 40%. So we're asking, are NH doctors being burnt out, or are patients paying the price of them not really wanting to do the job? All of that and much more to come. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News at Britain's News Channel. I'll see you very soon.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. This Sunday brings plenty of bright weather across the country. Some sunshine, though it is going to be a bit cloudy at times, perhaps a little bit cloudier than what we saw yesterday. But it should be a dry, settled day, all thanks to a ridge of high pressure stretching its way across the country. Far fewer isobars on the chart today, so much lighter winds. So certainly feeling warmer where we do see the sunshine, particularly across many northern areas, western areas of Scotland. A warmer day ahead in lighter winds. It should be mostly dry, but there will be some patchy cloud at times. This may be thick enough to produce the odd very light shower, though you'll be unlucky if you catch one. Mostly dry, settled. The warmest of the weather across southwest England. North Devon coast, for example, could reach around 25 degrees Celsius today. And it should be quite a warm day across Scotland as well. To finish off, there should be some late evening sunshine, some bits and bobs of cloud across the far north of Scotland. Once again, may produce the odd light shower. A fine end to the day across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, and very similar elsewhere across central and southern England and parts of Wales as well. Light winds continuing and some late evening sunshine. Now, through the course of the night, it should remain mostly dry and settled. There may be the odd mist and fog patch under clear skies across the north, and quite a chilly night to come as well, particularly after the mild night we had last night. Temperatures pushing into the low single figures across Scotland. But a very different night to come across the southwest. Quite warm here, some temperatures not dropping much past the mid-single figures, and a bit of cloud across central and southern parts as well to start on Monday. This may produce the odd shower once again, and as they drift their way northeastwards through the course of the morning, we may hear the odd rumble of thunder, but once again for most on Monday it should be dry, settled, light winds and plenty of sunny spells. Feeling warm once again, highs reaching into the mid-20s. That's everything from me. Bye-bye.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. If you need to know the time, it's coming up to 20 to 2, but you don't because it's a Sunday afternoon in any case. I hope you're feeling well today. I hope you're feeling in the bloom of health and are loving your weekend because we can talk about doctors. Yeah, junior doctors' sick leave has surged in recent years. New figures suggest tens of thousands of resident doctors, what used to be called junior doctors, took sick leave last year, with mental health now accounting for a significant share of absences. So are they genuinely being burnt out? Or are they letting patients down? Don't like to ask it, but... So let's talk to General Practitioner Basha Mukherjee now. Basha, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me on a Sunday lunchtime. So what's going on here? Why is there suddenly this increase, a huge increase, in doctors taking sick leave?
Let's look at the numbers here. So the article we're talking about is talking about a surge in sick leave since COVID and since the strikes began. Now, of course, we know that the strikes have had an impact, of course, on patients, of course, but at the same time, there's been a huge depletion in morale within the workplace for resident doctors to keep needing to go on repeat strikes like this for more than 3 years now, and to keep having the narrative pushed on the media of, you know, being villainized for the failures of the NHS as a whole, and to go back to work in that environment on non-strike days to see corridor care. All of this is a huge, you know, shift from what we perhaps envisage the work of a doctor to be like, to consistently be failing to deliver good level of care, good quality of care. Of course, you know, there's going to be a high level of burnout. And actually, when doctors get sick, and there's a huge culture of presenteeism within the culture of medicine, and if mistakes are made, they're not going to look at how great you are being by turning up at work. In fact, you risk losing your license if you end up being at work when you don't feel fit enough to be at work. So I can see where this is coming from.
I mean, the actual figures are 45,383 junior doctors, resident doctors, took sick leave in 2025-26, and that's up from 32,000 3 years earlier. Now, we understand, obviously, you know, that COVID had a big effect on healthcare, but the thing is, I mean, doctors, junior doctors, resident doctors, have had a 28% pay rise recently, are asking for a 26% one on top of that. It's not a lack of money that's causing this, is it? They are well paid.
let's look at the visuals on the screen at the moment that you guys are showing. The argument has been about the percentage, but actually the increase overall has been from asking to be paid from £18 an hour to about £22 an hour. So it's still a small number going up by a small number. And of course, when we get stuck on the percentage, that can seem like a lot. But actually, when we look at the individual figures of what doctors are getting paid, it isn't enough. And what are we trying to fix here ultimately? We are trying to retain staff so that there's enough staffing in the hospitals. And, you know, we keep using COVID, throwing COVID in the mix. And I was one of those people that was actually working prior to COVID as a resident doctor. I didn't work for very long because it was in my residency that, in fact, COVID started. We were not meeting minimum staffing requirements. That puts huge amount of pressure on the people who are on the ground. In fact, they have to do the work of more than one person because they're trying to fill the rota gaps. You get called from one ward to another sometimes because, you know, you might do the work in one and the other one needs you. This has a multifold effect, not just on mental health, but physical health also. And I've said this from the start, that if the government refuses to pay their staff appropriately, they will find a way out, even if we're saying that, okay, maybe a small percentage of these people might not be truly unwell. This, to me, is a symbol of a failure, essentially, that, you know, they don't feel well enough paid for the job, so some people might be feel forced to take a way out by taking time off work, essentially, because they don't feel valued at work as well.
But what about the patients? I mean, this is putting patients' lives at risk.
And absolutely. And I have to say that the role, any caring role in healthcare in particular, requires so much, not just the academic element of it, not just the intellectual aptitude, but the emotional burnout as well that comes from caring. It's really difficult to care and be a caring person when you don't feel cared for. Burnout classically essentially means that you develop a layer of cynicism and you become numb. This is where the lack of empathy can develop. And we don't want our doctors to be going through that. We don't want our doctors to feel they don't empathize with the patients. And I have to say, as I bring it back to the point that if sick doctors are at work and they make mistakes, and I can tell you it's already unsafe with the staffing levels and the amount of pressures and corridor care and the waiting list and the fact that patients, when they're turning up to the doctors, they're so much more unwell from having waited 12 hours at A&E. It actually comes down to the license of the doctor. That did you not feel well enough to be at work? But you were at work. Okay, well, that's your fault. Now you're going to have to be suspended from being able to practice. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Basha, we have to leave it there, unfortunately. But thank you so much for your time today. That's General Practitioner Basha Mukherjee. Thank you very much for joining us. Let us know what you think about that one. Again, we keep going back to this mental health issue, don't we, where so many sick days now, in many professions, not just the healthcare situation, are down to mental health. What is going wrong in this country? Let me know your thoughts on that. gbnews.com/your say. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News, and there is lots more coming up on today's show. Well, it was GB News' birthday yesterday. We were 5. Donald Trump is hitting the big 80 today. But what has he got planned for the occasion? We'll have all the details on that. Some of them are a little bit gory, it has to be said. But if you are in search of some holiday sun before all that, here's a forecast for those top European destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there. Some showers affecting parts of Spain, otherwise lots of dry weather, lots of warm sunshine, feeling very warm in that sunshine across some areas. Now, some showers could turn a bit heavy at times across parts of Spain. We'll also start to see some showers bubbling up through Monday across the Adriatic coastline. But otherwise, lots of dry, settled weather as high pressure continues, feeling very warm across some inland areas as well. The sunshine is set to continue into next week and temperatures turning quite hot by the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
veterinary surgeons and such as yourself, I mean, you're very, very highly trained, but it just feels so expensive when there's something wrong with your animal. And it does also seem that insurance doesn't cover the very things you need.
There's been huge advancements in veterinary medicine. 20 to 30 years ago, we had no CT scanners in practice, we had no MRI machines, our blood tests were very rudimentary. And for that, you could do that very cheaply. Now we can offer you this incredibly high level of care that comes at a high cost. Everybody wants this extremely high level of care for their pet. Of course, you want the best for your pet, but there's nobody else to pay for that. So if you can be honest and say, I can't do that at that amount of money, we'll find you a way. Yeah. We will.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Lovely to see them all looking rather laid back and informal, wasn't it?
Yes, you know, we're used to all of these grand royal events, and although this was undoubtedly the society wedding of the year, a very low-key event, they deliberately wanted to keep it as a private affair, as much as one can when one is a member of the royal family, of course. But it was a private ceremony, it was very intimate, and that's really the way that they've lived, that Peter Phillips has lived his life recently, and I think he wants to continue that. Interesting to note also that in this modern age, this is a blended family at this marriage, because they're both entering this as their second marriage. Of course, Peter Phillips previously married to Autumn Kelly, with whom he has two daughters, Savannah and Isla, who are 15 and 14. They were bridesmaids.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Dorothea, how does it feel being here today, joining other veterans?
It's marvellous, because for years after the war ended, nobody knew that women had even done anything during the war. And also, they suddenly discovered that, good heavens, women have got brains. They can think for themselves and for the country. And it was naturally assumed that everybody would willingly do their bit for England. And they would have. We had one purpose in life, which was to free the world from Nazism.
The People's Channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. I've just got to read a few of your messages out. Loads of you getting in touch after the interview with Dr. Basher just now about NHS doctors taking lots of time off sick for mental health reasons. I mean, Claire says, these are predominantly young doctors. Burn up, what a bunch of wussies. And Liz says, well, so if they will be able to put up with the workload, if they are paid more, and doctors should do the job for the care, not the money. That's from Michelle as well. And Elizabeth says, lots of women getting involved in this one, interestingly. Doctors are not wimps like this woman is talking about. For goodness sake, she's a good example of what's wrong with this country. Any case, keep them coming in. Let us know I'm getting nabbed by the director, who is also a woman. OK, now, Donald Trump turns... I've just outed her on here. Donald Trump turns 80 today. Happy birthday. Celebrating in a way only Donald Trump probably could. The White House is set to host UFC Freedom 250 on the South Lawn, which is basically cage fighting. Organisers have given away 85,000 tickets to fans who want to watch the match on massive screens at Ellipse Park. The event, which is invite only, is expected to feature a lightweight title fight between Ilia Topuria and Justin Gaethje, turning the president's birthday into a major sporting spectacle. We're showing you pictures on the screen now of those wrestlers getting ready. I mean, I wasn't planning that on my next Big Zero birthday, but who knows? Joining me now is Republican commentator Nora Lee Notson. Nora Lee, there are lots of ways of celebrating a Big Zero birthday. This wasn't on my list. What's going on?
No, it wouldn't be on my list either. But as we know, in a democracy, you're free to choose how you want to celebrate. And this is right on brand for Donald Trump. He loves to be a big spectacle with any celebration he does. He wants it to be big. He wants it to grab headlines. And clearly right now he wants to show strength. So it's a tactical decision as well. As we know, there's a very unpopular war going on with Iran. And he's hoping to announce a deal tonight, which would be the greatest birthday gift he could get, because we do need a deal. But it's only Donald Trump who would choose to do this. A lot of the people who follow UFC voted for him, and he's being tactical ahead of midterm elections, trying to show strength.
Is he genuinely a fan as well, Norley? I know he's been to quite a few fights that I've seen pop up on social media.
I believe he is a fan. This ties into what he likes. He likes sports, he likes entertainment, and he likes something that's quite populist in appeal as well.
OK, so Norley, what other celebrations are planned?
Well, I don't know what else is going on. I know there's a lot of sporting events going on, but clearly he's had a lot of happy birthday wishes from leaders across the globe. And the biggest thing that he's waiting for is a deal with Iran that he's hoping to announce later this evening.
Yeah, and Norley, I do feel like we have been talking about a deal with Iran being signed on and off now for months on end. How likely is this one to actually happen?
Your guess is as good as mine. I really do think it's 50-50 every time we get to this point. But clearly, we've got midterms coming up. There is pressure on him to get something done, put this behind him, and then focus on the issues back home in America.
And Norley, just very quickly and finally, 80. I mean, how is his health? I mean, he looks quite fit still.
The doctors have come out and said he's in excellent health. For somebody who's 80 years old, he's got more stamina than most 25-year-olds I know. And I know it's controversial, but let's remember, we've got 24 members of Congress who are over 80. In fact, one who's even 92. And it's all about your capabilities. And he's got great cognitive capabilities.
Norley, thank you so much as always. Don't go too far. We'll see you back after the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Looking ahead, it's going to be a rather cool, fresh night ahead for many. Different story in the southwest, though, quite a warm night to come. And that leads us into a dry, settled day on Monday. Very similar conditions to what we've had this afternoon, all thanks to a ridge of high pressure stretching across the country. Far fewer isobars on the chart as well, so much lighter winds for many of us. Plenty of late evening sunshine to finish off the day. Clear skies across Scotland, northern and eastern parts of England, so turning much cooler here overnight, particularly across Scotland. Some temperatures here not pushing much below the mid to low single figures, so feeling much cooler by Monday morning. But it's a very different story across southern parts of Wales, southwest England. A warm night to come, temperatures not dropping much past the mid single figures. So a warm start here to start off the day, but actually plenty of bright, if not sunny spells. We do have this stretch of cloud across parts of Wales, central and southeast England. This could produce some showers. We may even hear the odd rumble of thunder. Quite a fine start across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, and also across Scotland. But like I say, quite a chilly start. But actually through Monday, many of us will see another dry, settled day with some sunny spells. We do just have to keep an eye on these showers as they drift their way northeastwards. Once again, the odd spark of lightning associated with those. And then later into the day across the northwest, clouding over here. Once again, the odd shower or two expected. But where we see the brighter weather in the light winds, once again, it will be feeling warm. Highs reaching into the mid-single figures across much of England and Wales. They're a little bit fresher across some northeastern coasts and eastern areas of Scotland. Now, through the course of the night, this band of thicker cloud will start to produce some more outbreaks of rain as it drifts its way northeastwards, a few showers starting to push into the west. And this is a very similar pattern to what we'll see next week, some showers and cloud at times, but actually temperatures increasing day by day, turning rather warm by the end of the week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to grab a chance to live the summer of your dreams.
With a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in tax-free cash to be won.
Someone really has to win it, and it could be you.
For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time. But I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, it's 2 o'clock on Sunday the 14th of June and this is the weekend on GB News. Thank you so much for your company. Now, British forces aboard a Russian Shadow Fleet tanker in the English Channel this morning. The dramatic overnight operation is being hailed as another blow to Putin's war machine by Sir Keir Starmer. And Nigel Farage is proposing a major shake-up of social housing rules, saying British veterans and local residents should be moved to the front of the queue. And it comes as new analysis suggests more than 100,000 failed asylum seekers could be living in the UK after not being removed from the country. Meanwhile, Britain's new Defence Secretary says he'll fight for the funding the armed forces need. Dan Jarvis, that's he, is calling for greater investment as pressure grows over military readiness. And the rise of the middle-class shoplifter, yes, yummy mummies. Garden centres say that it's soaring and it's mums in nice cars, not career criminals who are to blame. Love those pictures. And it's victory for Scotland in the World Cup as they beat Haiti in their opening game of the tournament. There were scenes of jubilation as John McGinn secured the nation's first World Cup win in 36 years. They now top their group. I'm Dawn Neeson and this is The Weekend. Thank you so much for your company this afternoon. So many of you getting in touch. I mean, you really are, and it's lovely because, you know, this show is all about you. Graham, you've just nailed the breaking story from first thing this morning was about sort of like our Keir Starmer personally intervened in our going in and stopping that Shadow Fleet Russian tanker, and he got involved personally, timing anyone. But Graham's just made a really good point. Hi, Graham. He said, "Hi, I'm from Sculpey in the Western Isles. Just watched the footage of Special Forces abseiling out of a Chinook onto the Russian tanker. Now I'm just really curious how the camera operator got there first." And I thought I was cynical. In any case, keep them coming in at gbnews.com/yoursay. You can talk about that. You can talk about anything you want, to be honest with it. It's Sunday afternoon, and we are here to chill together as well as talk about some of the really important stuff. As I said, gbnews.com/yoursay is the way to get involved, or scan the QR code thingy. All of that coming up after the news headlines with Sophia Wenslow.
Dawn, thank you. Your headlines at 2:02. British Armed Forces have intercepted and seized a Russian Shadow Fleet oil tanker in the English Channel in the early hours of this morning. Sir Keir Starmer confirmed Royal Marine Commandos and specially trained officers boarded the vessel, supported by the RAF. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked the UK for intercepting the vessel. It will now be held and monitored off the south coast of England. Russia has been operating a shadow fleet of tankers to evade international sanctions imposed on its oil exports since its war with Ukraine. The new Defence Secretary has said he's determined to get the armed forces the funding they need after his predecessor quit over Labour's military spending plans. In an interview with The Telegraph, Dan Jarvis urged the government to meet the moment when it comes to the challenge of increasing defence spending. His appointment came after John Healey's shock resignation, which was triggered by an ongoing internal row over funding. In his resignation letter, Mr Healey suggested that the current defence investment plan proposed increasing defence spending by £13.5 billion. That's only 0.08% of GDP. Meanwhile, the Conservatives have urged Labour to cut welfare spending and redirect savings to defence. Shadow Defence Secretary James Cartledge spoke to GB News this morning.
Everyone knows that 0.08% is nothing like enough, and we know that John Healey himself, the previous Defence Secretary, thought that that's why he resigned. The threat is much greater, so we need to increase defence spending to 3%, and we think a big part of that has got to come from cutting welfare.
But Labour's Lisa Nandy defended her party's track record.
We've overseen the biggest sustained increase in defence spending since the Cold War. And when we first came into government, within weeks, we'd commissioned a strategic defence review.
President Donald Trump has said a peace deal between the US and Iran will be signed today to end the fighting and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian officials have told Reuters news agency Tehran agrees not to produce or acquire nuclear weapons under the draft deal. Key mediator Pakistan also said the deal was expected to be finalised within 24 hours and they were preparing for the electronic signing. Iran's foreign ministry, though, said Tehran must be cautious in commenting on the signing date. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takahashi has arrived at Downing Street for talks with the Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer ahead of next week's G7 summit. The leaders are expected to discuss areas of new investment between the UK and Japan during the visit. It comes amid reports Donald Trump will confront Sir Keir Starmer over immigration at the summit. The US President is expected to press the Prime Minister and other European leaders on the matter after violent unrest in Belfast drew international attention. Nigel Farage has pledged to evict foreign nationals from council housing. Under the Reform leader's plans, migrants living in social housing would be given 3 months to find private accommodation or face being deported. Instead, veterans and long-term local residents will be given priority, along with domestic abuse survivors and care leavers. Writing on his Substack, Mr Farage claimed that guidelines in place for housing associations have led to a redistribution of housing stock away from the white British populations who originally inhabited areas. Police have arrested 6 activists after a pro-Palestine rally outside a synagogue in North London. Footage on social media shows police detaining protesters after a clash occurred outside of Edgware United Synagogue in London this morning, while others were seen holding framed images of Iran's Ayatollah. A 21-year-old woman has reportedly fallen to her death from a bridge in Brazil after staff allegedly threw her over the edge without attaching her bungee rope. Maria Eduarda Rodrigues de Freitas was killed in the incident at a disused railway bridge in Limeira, Sao Paulo, after workers launched her from a 130-foot drop in a Superman pose. Footage of the moments before the fall show two members of staff carrying her towards the edge, apparently unaware that her harness had not been connected to the rope. Police are investigating. It's Donald Trump's birthday today. The US president turns 80 and he's celebrating by staging a night of cage fighting on the South Lawn as part of celebrations marking the 250th anniversary of US independence. The event, dubbed UFC Freedom 250, will blend sport with political spectacle and music. Those are the headlines for now. More news in half an hour.
Thank you very much, Sphere. We're just talking about the bungee jumping story. It's just absolutely, I saw it online last night, I think it was. Absolutely horrific, just awful, awful, awful. OK, well, we're not talking about that. Sophia did a brilliant job covering it in the news bulletins, but we are talking about a major announcement from Nigel Farage. He says reform government would evict foreign nationals from council housing, social housing as we have to call it now. Migrants would have 3 months to find private accommodation or face being deported. Priority for housing would be given to veterans, domestic abuse survivors, care leavers and what reform describe as long-term local residents. So now let's talk to Shabab Khan, who is a human rights lawyer. Mr. Khan, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining. What do you make of this announcement from Nigel Farage today?
Hi. I mean, I think it's what we've come to expect from him, isn't it? I mean, just sort of dog whistles and not really something that, you know, I mean, I don't know how much thought goes into these policies or plans that he announced. But I mean, obviously, as an immigration lawyer, someone who is familiar with the immigration system, I think it's always useful at some point when someone can ask him to ask what sort of categories of foreigners is he talking about? So is he talking about people who are joining, for instance, British family, British, spouses of British nationals, children, parents of British nationals, asylum seekers, refugees, victims of trafficking? Which of these categories is he actually saying? Because if he's talking about, for instance, skilled workers or overseas students or something, then those people already don't get it. Obviously, they're not reliant on welfare benefits or housing or council social accommodation anyway. So what kind of people is he saying? Is he saying that, for instance, a British national marries a foreign person and then the British national would be entitled to housing, but the foreign national would not? Or is he saying the whole family would be evicted? So I'm not really quite sure what he's saying. In terms of the 3 months, again, there's so many categories, for instance, particularly refugees, asylum seekers who are desperate to work. They don't have the right to work. And so how do we expect them to arrange any private housing then, unless he's going to change that system? And he's saying, yes, people immediately, once you come to the UK, you'll be allowed to work. Then maybe. But otherwise, I'm not sure what could this policy mean other than just yet another dog whistle.
That was my next question, really. Why do you think he's doing it? Do you think it is a dog whistle because he's worried about the challenge from the Restore Party?
Of course. I mean, I think it is. I mean, I know we talk about one-trick ponies, but I mean, I think this is one trick that's gone far, far, beyond what anyone thought it might. That's all he thinks about or talks about ever. I mean, does anyone know? I mean, does Reform even have an education policy, a health policy, even the foreign policy, other than yes, we're going to send everyone back? What else does he ever talk about? So, of course, that's what it is. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that's what he says. And then, obviously, he has to outdo himself. And unfortunately, with the Tories, with the other parties, even Labour at times, it's almost like a race to the bottom. Anything that Farage says, everyone else has to jump on, and everyone else has to outdo him in that. And I would say in the nastiness of it, I mean, I just don't understand, what this country's coming to, really, and how we think, at some point he was sort of beyond the pale. It was fringe politics. Now, obviously, he's gaining in the polls, and it's like everyone's just joining in. Which I find very, very worrying.
Mr. Khan, surely that is the point. I mean, they are doing very well in the polls because people are angry. They are concerned about priority being given to migrants over, the British population, British people, British workers.
But is priority being given? Because if you look at, the last two sentences of that, for instance, all the newspapers reporting it, in the end, they talk about the response from the government. And I mean, even that response is surprising from this government to be quite, that clear, and they actually know what they're talking about for a change. But they say 9 out of 10 social, council housing, socially provided accommodation, 9 out of 10 goes to British nationals. So it's just 1 out of 10, that's 10%. So, again, that might be domestic violence victims, that might be victims of trafficking. We don't know who those would be. There might be unaccompanied children, 1 out of 10. And so is that really what's, pushing the British people back? Is that really or is the point that we've sold off all the council houses and no one's building anymore? Is that more the issue? Or is the issue that how come 1 out of 10 goes to a foreign national?
If you talk about 1 out of 10, that's spread over the whole country. But statistically, if you look at certain areas, they're socially rented homes with occupants, both born outside the UK. In some areas, certainly in many parts of London, it is over 61%. So there are areas where people are genuinely concerned because they are worried about 61% of the social housing going to foreigners.
Yes, but I mean, that does mean that I'm sure in vast, parts of the country, there wouldn't be a single house going to a foreign national then, if only 10% in total are. But the point is the population of that community then 61% foreign nationals? Or are we saying that disproportionately, somehow, a British person and non-British goes to the council, and the council is just choosing to give it to the foreign national? I just don't think that's happening. And I mean, I think anyone who thinks about it, obviously that's not what's happening. But they do have to look at who's more vulnerable, who's in greater need. If, for instance, like I said, if any of those categories, a pregnant woman, it's a disabled person, someone else, and if it's 1 out of 10, then I think it would be those categories. Obviously, not healthy people coming here, young, fit, able to work, and they just decide, oh, why don't we just get a council house? And obviously, we know there aren't any council houses either. Even if someone wanted to, they're not going to get one, are they, in that situation? But
it's a very fair point about the council house.
We want to make them homeless?
We want to send them back to whatever country they came from. I mean, just as a human rights lawyer, just quickly, we're running out of time, unfortunately, Mr. Khan. But as a human rights lawyer, obviously, you would fight against this if Reform got into power and tried to implement this policy.
I mean, I would hope so. I mean, hopefully they won't get into power and hopefully it won't be implemented. But if it is, yes, I would hope that any decent person would. Because like I said, if it's just 1 out of 10 houses, it might be those very, very vulnerable people then. And also, I mean, obviously, again, like I'm saying, dog whistle or just, we have to have these slogans and political policies that aren't actually going to happen. But the point is, where are these people going to go? Are we just increasing homelessness, pushing them onto charities, pushing them onto the NHS? Where are these people going to go then? Well, because I don't think, even Farage would say, oh, they're all millionaires and they've got lots of money, but somehow they choose to be in council housing.
OK, thank you so much for joining us. We've run out of time, unfortunately, on that one. That's Shoaib Khan, who is a human rights lawyer. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, you will have very strong opinions on that one, so please do let me know at gbnews.com/your say. There are some, the overall statistical doesn't sound that high, 1 in 10, but if you look at some areas, certainly in our big cities, certainly in London, I'm picking out sort of Wembley, for example, my borough, Tower Hamlets, 61% of the rented homes, social homes, are with occupiers born outside the UK. So let me know what you think about that one. OK, now we're going to move on. Dramatic events in the English Channel, although a lot of you are very cynical about this one, where British Armed Forces intercepted a Russian Shadow Fleet vessel in the early hours of the morning. Royal Marine Commandos and especially trained law enforcement officers from the National Crime Agency boarded a sanctioned oil tanker during a 6-hour operation. Here's what Lieutenant Colonel Tom Quinn, who's a commanding officer of 42 Commando in the Royal Marines, said a short time ago.
Evading sanctions to fund an illegal war in Ukraine will be countered with decisive action, and that's what we've done on this occasion. We didn't meet any resistance from the crew. Indeed, they were really compliant and supportive of our actions and what we needed to get done once we took control of the vessel.
OK, now, interesting, isn't it? Lots of you are very... I'm cynical about this one. The timing of it. We've had a week from hell for defence, haven't we? We haven't got enough money. Keir Starmer is really under the cosh on this one. And suddenly at the end of that week, we have this happening. OK, let's talk to Royal Navy officer and defence expert James Gator. James, thank you so much for joining us. Very dramatic footage. Lots of the viewers today are saying, get very dramatic, and it sounds like, you know, one of those brilliant military coups that we managed to pull off. But it was all being filmed. How did the cameraman get on the boat before the people sort of like stopping the boat in the first place?
Well, good afternoon to you, Dawn. Lovely to see you again. Well, you are absolutely right. It is very prescient timing, this particular operation. Especially given that the announcement by Keir Starmer with regard to new legislation, or indeed existing legislation used in a new way to interdict shadow fleet vessels, was made on the 25th of March. So rather amusingly, you know, more than 200 vessels, it is estimated, have passed through the channel between then and now. And last night was the night was chosen to conduct an operation of this kind.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that's very cynical about this. I mean, Keir Starmer did put a statement on X, as everybody does these days when they're doing anything, that he had personally directed the interception. I mean, James, it was impressive. And, you know, the boys and girls in our armed forces do a remarkable job. But you have to say, after the week we've had for defence and the resignations of two very respected ministers in this area, that this is all a bit like treating us like mushrooms.
Well, let's address those points in turn. You know, the operation conducted by members of 4-2 Commando Royal Marines was executed, as with pretty much everything the Royal Marines do, with extreme precision and ruthless efficiency. And we should be proud that we still have these types of capabilities. You can see on the pictures now our Type 23 frigate, one of the only ones we have remaining, HMS Sutherland, and you can see also a Merlin helicopter, which would probably have deployed from HMS Sutherland, fast roping those individuals onto the deck. So, first things first, as a nation, as an island nation, we need these capabilities. I'm very proud that we still have them. The fact that they were deployed at this particular time is a cause for some suspicion. You are quite right, Dawn. It's been quite the week with the resignation of both the Secretary of State for Defence and the Minister for the Armed Forces, and the implementation, of course, the appointment of a new Secretary of State for Defence. But nonetheless, the fact that we can still conduct these operations is a great thing.
It really is. I mean, are you concerned about what we've seen happen this week with our defence ministers?
Yes, I'm extremely concerned. John Healey is a highly respected individual and an honourable man. Alkans is an individual whose citation for his military cross remains classified. His military service was exemplary. And so these are men that should be carefully believed, so to speak, when they choose to resign at a time particularly of heightened tensions with two hot wars running in Europe at this time. So, yes, I'm very concerned about where we are with defence. The very fact that John Healey, for example, chose to resign because he was getting nowhere, it seems, with the Treasury, is indicative of where this government's priorities are with regard to our national safety.
And what do you think, what do you make of Dan Jarvis, who's the new Defence Secretary? He's given an interview today saying that he is going to fight, he's going to urge the government to meet the moment on defence spending. Yes. If the previous incumbent of that role couldn't do it, what's Dan going to do that's any different?
Well, I say good luck to Dan, because, again, another military man, he will bring a can-do attitude to the situation, and I wish him all the very best of luck. But the issue, I am afraid, Dawn, is not who is at the helm of the Ministry of Defence. The issue is who is at the helm of the government and who is operating the Treasury. And the priority of the Treasury is not the military, notwithstanding the commentary, the rhetoric, the assertions of the quality of our armed forces. The truth of the matter is that our armed forces have never been as weak in living memory. And this is a bad thing for an island nation that relies on the sea to import something like 94% of everything we consume. Every single one of your listeners and viewers use comes by the sea. And we have allowed our Navy to reduce in size to its lowest level in living memory. This is a disgrace.
OK, thank you so much. I mean, I love talking to you because you talk so much common sense, but you never really cheer me up, James. It has to be said. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. That's Royal Navy officer and defence expert James Gator. OK, now, we have got some good news for you. It's 21 minutes past 2, not that you care, it's a Sunday. And it's time for the Great British Giveaway. And time is indeed ticking on your chance to win a big cash prize of £76,543.21. I'm starting to have nightmares about that number. It's totally tax-free, though, and you'll get every single penny of it. Here's how you win it.
There's just 2 weeks left to make your summer sensational, as we're giving you the chance to win a simply stunning £76,543.21 in tax-free cash. That's cash that could go towards family treats, spectacular summer days out, or give you the chance to chill out and relax somewhere like here, the Imperial Island Resort in Paphos. You really could be our next big winner with a whopping £76,543.21 in your bank. But hurry, there's just 2 weeks remaining.
For a chance to win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Oh, good luck indeed. OK, I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GBNews. There's loads more coming up on today's show. We're talking about defence because it is important. Britain's new Defence Secretary says he'll fight for the funding the armed forces need. That's Dan Jarvis there, you see him on your screens. He's calling for great investment as pressure grows over military readiness. I've got some really scary statistics for you coming in this next bit as well, so you don't want to move a muscle. All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. I'll see you very, very soon.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hello, welcome back to the Weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company. Now, we keep coming back to this story about defence, don't we? Because it is just so insane. And then we have the oil tanker we were just talking about before the break, where it was great and was stopping this Russian Shadow Fleet oil tanker. But the film crew were on the boat first. Come on, how stupid do they think we are? In any case, calm down, Dawn. The new Defence Secretary says he's determined to get the armed forces the funding they need after his predecessor quit over Labour's military spending plans. Dan Jarvis, that's he, the new one, urged his own government to meet the moment. Mr Jarvis was appointed after John Healey resigned on Thursday. He accused Sir Keir Starmer of failing to properly fund the Defence Investment Plan, which we are still waiting to hear more about, aren't we? We are joined now by former Senior Military Intelligence Officer Philip Ingram. Mr Ingram, always a joy to talk to you, always the voice of common sense on this one. What do you make of Dan Jarvis's? I mean, look, he's got to say it, hasn't he? His interview today saying he's going to get the money our defence needs. Is he?
Well, he's got an impossible task. He's going to have to get the money. Otherwise, he's going to have to accept that what John Healey and Al Cairns said in the resignation letters was wrong and stand up against them. And Dan is a sensible man. I know him. He recognises the real dire straits that defence is in. And if he doesn't get any money, then I suspect Dan will be the next to go. Or if he does, if he doesn't get any money and he tries to sell that, I suspect the next honourable thing would be some of the defence chiefs to turn around and say, you're asking me to do something that I can't do because you're not funding it, and they should go.
It's very brave of Dan, who, by all accounts, is a good man who believes in what he's doing. Very brave of him to take this job.
It is, and he was doing a fantastic job as the security minister. Of course, he's not the first security minister to step up into the Secretary of State for Defence role. Ben Wallace did that with the Tories. And we have to recognise that the current government inherited the Ministry of Defence in a very, very poor condition. But it was a political decision for the current government to do a strategic defence review. It was a political decision for the Prime Minister Keir Starmer to say that he accepted all the recommendations of that strategic defence review. And he hasn't clearly accepted them because he's not funding them. And of course, the situation has changed from a global geopolitical perspective in that we are under an even larger threat environment at the moment, and the government needs to step up and do something.
Where do you think this is going to end, Philip? I mean, I know you get the crystal ball out. I mean, will Dan Jarvis be able to get any more money? I think the answer to that, we all know, is going to be a no. All the time we've got Rachel Reeves and Ed Miliband around, that's going to be a no. But we do need more money for defence. How's it going to end?
We do. Well, there is more money that could be allocated to defence without any problems whatsoever. If we look at the net zero department headed by Ed Miliband, or I refer to him as Ed Milliwatt, they were given £13.6 billion within the first week of the government coming in. The government could easily turn around and say, we will postpone our net zero targets until we can afford it. And there's 13.6 billion that could go to the Ministry of Defence straight away. Combine that with the 10 billion of real money that's coming in, that takes us up to 23.6 billion. We're getting close to something. Never mind then dipping into the additional 42 billion that's going on the welfare budget. And of course, none of that will then impact schools and the NHS as the Treasury tried to say. John Healey was asking for them to make decisions around. There's so much disinformation around here. I suspect if Dan Jarvis doesn't get the money this week or next week, he is going to have to resign.
Oh, God, that would be... I mean, we've already had 22 ministers gone in 23 months, I think it is. So that would be 23 in 23 months, if that is the case. Philip, I mean, when you read some of the stats about the fleet tanker being intercepted today. But I mean, sort of like, it was frightening today about how dangerous this really is. We're talking about numbers, we're talking about figures, we're talking about Keir Starmer taking on Ed Miliband. But Russia can produce 15 million drones a year. Britain has 8,000. That is scary.
Well, 8,000, I think, is a very generous count in the number of drones.
That's even scarier.
As Al Cairns said, your defence isn't about the numbers of troops that you've got. It isn't about the number of ships and tanks and aircraft that you've got. It's all about a wider capacity in society. And it's having that defence industrial base that can turn around and step up manufacturing from a few thousand to tens of thousands very, very quickly indeed, and have the mechanisms in place to do that. That's why more money going into defence actually will be a good thing for the country, because it will increase our manufacturing capacity. That spare capacity can be used for other things when it's not building the latest drones that the Minister of Defence would need in a wartime scenario. It will create more jobs, more training places for people with apprenticeships or people coming out of universities. It'll create more tax coming into the government. It'll create that growth that the Chancellor wants. She doesn't seem to get it, though.
Oh, that's the problem. They really don't seem to get it. And you mentioned earlier on the Chancellor's department, we're not saying it's Rachel Reeves, but the Chancellor's department saying that John Healey wanted to take money away from the NHS and education. He's never said anything like that whatsoever.
Correct.
How dangerous do you think that this infighting actually is for the entire country when you look at some of the stats about how many soldiers we've got compared to Russia? We've got 73,000, they've got 1.3 million.
Yeah, well, the UK will never fight Russia alone, and numbers is always difficult. You know, if we just followed the numbers game, then Russia should have walked all over Ukraine in about 3 days. So it's down to capability. But our troops are some of the most capable in the world, as we saw with the Royal Marines operation against that Shadow Fleet tanker. But they need to have the equipment, and they need to have the backing in industry and ammunition and stores and all the rest of it. You know, it's all the non-sexy stuff that makes a military force capable, and it's capable of sustaining a conflict. And the more capable you are, the more it deters an adversary from coming in. Of course, if we do fight Russia, it will be as part of a NATO coalition that's going in. So we outnumber Russia by quite a significant way when we look at it from a NATO perspective.
Philip, just quickly and finally, reading all the stats and all the stories this week about where we are with defence and what a dangerous time we are actually genuinely living in, and we've got our ministers fighting like rats in a sack. Meanwhile, the threat is real and we're all at risk.
Yeah, the threat is huge. I've been at this game for over 40 years, either in uniform or commentating on defence and writing about it. I have never seen a more dangerous period of time. I can now see numerous paths to a global conflict, and it could come around very quickly indeed. And we are not prepared for that. I liken it to a 1936, 1938 moment whenever we've got ministers walking down the steps of an aircraft, waving a piece of paper. Now they're just waving stuff on social media saying peace in our time. We need to wake up to this, and wake up very quickly indeed.
I think I'll leave you on those very strong words indeed, as always, Philip. Thank you so much. That is Philip Ingram, the former senior military intelligence officer. Worrying words. And as you said, Philip, as you heard Philip say, he's got lots of experience and he's worried. I think we all should be, maybe. Let's hope the government are listening, eh? OK, now Downing Street, talking to the government, has said that the government's defence investment plan will be published before the NATO summit next month, but it is not expected in the coming week. In his response to Healey's resignation, the Prime Minister said he was proud of our record on funding, adding the defence funding plan would provide the resources our military needs to keep us safe. Just leaving that one there for you. OK, now remember, let me know your thoughts on all the stories. I think you can tell my opinion on that one. On all the stories we're discussing today by visiting gbnews.com/yoursay or scan the QR code thingy. OK, and there's lots more coming up on today's show. We're running out of time to get that last half hour. The rise of the middle-class shoplifter. Yes, yummy mummies are hitting garden centres and they say theft is soaring. It's mums in nice cars not career criminals, though. What on earth is going on with this one? I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. I'll see you very soon.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. This Sunday brings plenty of bright weather across the country. Some sunshine, though it is going to be a bit cloudy at times, perhaps a little bit cloudier than what we saw yesterday. But it should be a dry, settled day, all thanks to a ridge of high pressure stretching its way across the country. Far fewer isobars on the chart today, so much lighter winds. So certainly feeling warmer where we do see the sunshine, particularly across many northern areas, western areas of Scotland. A warmer day ahead in lighter winds. It should be mostly dry, but there will be some patchy cloud at times. This may be thick enough to produce the odd very light shower, though you'll be unlucky if you catch one. Mostly dry, settled. The warmest of the weather across southwest England. North Devon coast, for example, could reach around 25 degrees Celsius today. And it should be quite a warm day across Scotland as well. To finish off, there should be some late evening sunshine, some bits and bobs of cloud across the far north of Scotland. Once again, may produce the odd light shower. A fine end to the day across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, and very similar elsewhere across central and southern England and parts of Wales as well. Light winds continuing and some late evening sunshine. Now, through the course of the night, it should remain mostly dry and settled. There may be the odd mist and fog patch under clear skies across the north, and quite a chilly night to come as well, particularly after the mild night we had last night. Temperatures pushing into the low single figures across Scotland. But a very different night to come across the southwest. Quite warm here, some temperatures not dropping much past the mid-single figures, and a bit of cloud across central and southern parts as well to start on Monday. This may produce the odd shower once again, and as they drift their way northeastwards through the course of the morning, we may hear the odd rumble of thunder. But once again, for most on Monday, it should be dry, settled, light winds and plenty of sunny spells. Feeling warm once again, highs reaching into the mid-20s. That's everything from me. Bye-bye.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News,
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Now, it's a story that's raising plenty of eyebrows. Garden centres, yeah, brace yourself, say they've been seeing a growing number of shoplifters. They don't fit the usual stereotype, though, with some described as middle-class mums arriving in expensive cars. The industry theft is now costing millions of pounds, and many of these garden centres, by the way, are just small independent businesses, so they are in danger of literally losing everything. And they're calling for tougher action to tackle the problem. So is there now a middle-class theft problem? Joining me now is reformed former shoplifter and expert on retail theft, Cullen Mays. Cullen, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. OK, now, we talk about shoplifting from corner stores and supermarkets a lot on this show. But this is from garden centres and it's yummy mummies, to borrow that phrase. What's going on?
Yeah, I think there's definitely, shoplifters across all classes, people who live to make an opportunity on things, especially in this day and age. But I think it's probably just your working class kind of mothers who have earned good money off shoplifting and they come across middle class now. They might have a nice car, they might dress well, and they're just continuing to do the stuff they're doing. They're probably not middle class mothers. They're probably just working class people who have always shoplifted. They've been good at shoplifting. And now they perceive themselves as middle class, maybe.
I mean, so right, some individual thefts are costing up to £6,000 there, just reading the facts out for you. And the Horticultural Trades Association estimates the sector is losing 16 million in retail crime in the past year. And 71% of members consider theft a significant problem. Now, but why garden centres in particular? What, I mean, it's not pot plants we're talking about, by the way. It's sort of like fancy scented candles and things like that. So why are garden centres now suffering? Or is it just all shops in general, Cullen?
Yeah, well, funny enough, I used to target garden centres myself. Oh. Yeah, so I used to target them because at the time, Yankee candles were quite an in thing. They were quite expensive at the time, and they would host Yankee candles at garden centres. So I can imagine if you're a shoplifter and you know there's valuable items at garden centres, they're going to target those places. It's always been a place to go, to be honest.
So the Yankee candles are the fairly expensive scented ones, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you've got all different types of candles now. There's obviously other things at garden centres as well, but that was like a known thing when I used to shoplift. I'd go to garden centres to steal Yankee candles.
Cullen, what is going on here, though? Is it the fact that now we have no respect for people running these businesses, or we just all think that stealing is acceptable?
Look, I think it's a bit of both. I think we're living in hard times for everyone, I think. And
people, sorry, Cullen, to interrupt, but some of these people driving the cars that I'm looking at here, they're not living in hard times. They're driving Range Rovers.
No, I totally agree. But what I'm saying is across the board, we are living in hard times. And I think the messaging of shoplifting has now become anyone can do it. It's a petty crime. You know, we got overcrowded prisons. So people know that they can shoplift, they can take advantage of that because they won't go to prison. And it's just got a massive knock-on effect, I think, you know. And I think the messaging the police gave, I think it was like 2 years ago now, where they said they won't tackle nothing underneath £200 has been a green light, not just for shoplifters who have always shoplifted, but for people who think, you know what, I want to have a bit of a nicer life. I don't really have everything I can pay for. I'm going to start shoplifting. And it is an addictive thing as well. So once you start shoplifting and you start getting away with it, it becomes a problem in itself. And that's why you'll see people driving around in Range Rovers now, because they've made so much money off shoplifting.
What made you stop, Cullen?
I recovered from heroin and crack cocaine. I was a drug addict, and I funded all my shoplifting, you know, my addiction through shoplifting. And people used to say to me, you know, Cole, you would have been a millionaire if you never took drugs. And thankfully, I would have never have shoplifted if it weren't for the drugs. So by the grace of God, I've managed to turn my life around, and now I don't shoplift anymore.
Good for you. Congratulations on that. So what advice would you give to the people running these many small businesses, garden centres, about stopping shoplifting? How do we tackle this?
Well, I've been working with a security firm now for the last year. We've been implementing a security system in shops using my experiences as a shoplifter. But, you know, personal businesses have to invest in their own shops, their own security, if they really want to stop this, because unfortunately, police understaffed, prisons overcrowded, the government are not going to do anything. You have to stop this yourself, unfortunately, and it's a sad situation.
And can you see it changing anytime soon? Is the message getting out there? I mean, are the government doing that much to help businesses?
No, I don't think they are at all, no. And I think shoplifting is not one shoe that fits all as well. Like I said, there's many reasons why people are shoplifting. I think if you are shoplifting just for a lavish lifestyle, there needs to be stiffer sentencing. But again, how can we sentence people when people are in an overcrowded prison? Would you rather send someone in for a house burglary or a shoplift? You probably send the house burglar. And this is the problem we got right now. We like to send too many people to jail. And this is the knock-on effect because of it.
OK,
well, let's pray.
Thank you so much, Cullen, for joining us today, and well done you for turning it around as well. Let's hope many others watching and listening can learn from your example. That's Cullen Mellis there, who's a foremost shoplifter and expert on retail theft there. Thank you very much for joining us. OK, well, this is GB News. I'm Dawn Neeson. There's lots more coming up on today's show. Yeah, we're going to talk football. And Scotland win their first World Cup match in 36 years. And I bet they are still celebrating. And we can't blame them, can we? We'll have all the latest on the sport with Aidan McGee. But if you are in search of some holiday sun, here is the forecast of some of the top European destinations for you.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello there. Some showers affecting parts of Spain, otherwise lots of dry weather, lots of warm sunshine, feeling very warm in that sunshine across some areas. Now, some showers could turn a bit heavy at times across parts of Spain. We'll also start to see some showers bubbling up through Monday across the Adriatic coastline. But otherwise, lots of dry, settled weather as high pressure continues, feeling very warm across some inland areas as well. The sunshine is set to continue into next week and temperatures turning quite hot by the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
If you're working in collaboration, one with an excellent script, with an excellent director, with an excellent lighting cameraman, and hopefully an excellent actor, there is a moment when all of those energies join and a certain kind of magic is revealed. And one can see that in so many great performances that one can see on films that, of course, are not AI generated. I mean, I ask myself the question, could an AI generated film be as good as Apocalypse Now or The Godfather?
It's so funny that you mentioned that, because I had a call with the producer of The Godfather just 2 days ago about how we can work together using AI. So he thinks that it's another tool in the sandbox, that you cannot replace human creativity.
The People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Baking award-winning biscuits. Sawley Kitchen handcraft a variety of shortbreads, cookies and ginger thins. And the North Yorkshire Bakery is celebrating National Biscuit Day.
I mean, a whole day dedicated to the biscuit. Like, you have to, right? We take traditional biscuits like cookies, ginger thins, and put our own spin on it. And I'd probably say that ginger thins are the most popular. When you snap it, that noise is amazing.
Down the road from the bakery, we asked the people of Ripon for their opinion.
Well, it's probably a Jaffa cake, but that might be a bit controversial, mightn't it? Because some people say it's not a biscuit, but that's my favourite. I always used to have it when I used to go and visit my nan when I was a kid.
Definitely a chocolate hobnob. It's comforting. And no, I'm not a dunker.
GB News, the People's Channel. Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
The travellers have arrived at the cricket pitch, and let's be frank, they're not very welcome. Seems to be a pattern of just taking over public land like this, and should that stop?
If you try to book onto a campsite, i.e. a regular campsite with tents and there's shower facilities, etc., where tents, caravans go, motorhomes, your pint break will be turned down as a group. So it's impossible to get onto a campsite. I can appreciate it's a cricket field, but that's what they're doing. They're camping because they've got nowhere else to go.
OK, well, let's get the Formula A Boss MP and Graham Jones on now. Graham Jones, it's not cricket, is it?
Volunteers spend hours cleaning these places up. They spend hours investing in them, and then to have them just turned into a rubbish dump or not be able to use, and in this case and in other cases, the abuse that you receive is just incredible. I mean, it's just not acceptable.
The People's Channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company. We are coming up to the last few minutes together, but it has been an incredibly busy weekend of sport. And who better to talk about that than the one and only Aidan McGee. Aidan, Scotland.
Yes.
I just want to say congratulations to Scotland.
They did the job, didn't they?
Yes.
Make no mistake, Dawn, there was pressure on Scotland going into this game because if they didn't win this one, then it puts the onus on them trying to get points off Morocco and Brazil, who incidentally were in Scotland's group, both in Scotland's group last time they were in the finals back in 1998. To put it in some kind of context, they hadn't won a game at a World Cup finals since 1990, and that was similar then because they played Costa Rica in their first game. Everyone was expecting them to win. In those days, we didn't know the strength of these countries. We just thought Costa Rica were minnows. They've actually turned out in the last 30-odd years to be quite a decent footballing nation, but at the time, they turned Scotland over 1-0. Scotland did win in the second match against Sweden with goals from Stuart McCall and Mo Johnson, if you remember him. But when they got to the Brazil game in the third match, they left themselves too much to do. So they had to win this one yesterday because it was almost like a repeat of events. They beat Haiti last night. It was a bit backs against the wall, rearguard action, whatever you want to call it. They retreated in the second half, but John McGinn's goal got the job done after 28 minutes. And here's what their manager, Steve Clarke, said after that match.
It doesn't happen very often. This group of players, I've spoken about it many, many times. I think they showed their experience tonight. I spoke about the last one where we were disappointed with the two performances, or the two outcomes in the Euros. This time you go with that pressure on top of you, as well as the pressure you must win the first game. And they deserve it. They've been so good for their nation over the last 7 years. They deserve to be the team that's finally got another win on the board in the World Cup.
I love that, honestly, Aidan. It doesn't happen very often.
No, it certainly doesn't. It certainly doesn't. I don't know how many fans were there last night. It was thousands and thousands. Lots of them couldn't get in. I think some of them bought tickets but couldn't necessarily get into the first match. But it looks like Ben Leo was out on the street last night in Boston, and it looked like they bled the place dry in terms of alcohol anyway. But they play Morocco at the same stadium, I believe, on Friday. And look, with 3 points in the bag, they may only need one more. In fact, it's possible that they could go up with just 3 points into the next round, rather, with the same number of points they've got now as the third best qualifier in the group stage. So they're taking a massive step last night. And as I say, the pressure was on them, no question about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, good for them. It would be great if we got to play them, wouldn't it? Can you imagine? The pubs would be busy, wouldn't they? What else?
Look, let's do a quick England update. Nothing relating to what goes on the pitch, sadly, but we do have an inventory.
Oh yeah, I love this story. Yeah.
Of what was taken yesterday, or the day before, in terms of training ground equipment. So just to recap everyone what actually happened, but some of the training kit was stolen in transit, and two men, Irfan Kamal and Mustafa Salik, have been charged with one count of receiving stolen property, which is a Class D felony under Missouri law, which carries a sentence of between 1 and 7 years in prison, which I find absolutely extraordinary. Wow. But nonetheless, I suppose that these things are taken seriously in some countries, even if not ours. Now, this is the list of items that was stolen. 4 pairs of boots valued at $1,340. The best one, though, thousands of pounds worth of stuff. 2 stuffed lions. No value given, but who knows, they might have sentimental value that is off the chart.
I love the stuffed lions. I just want to know now which players had those stuffed lions. Aidan McGee, thank you so much.
Let's hope our lions don't get stuffed.
Thank you so much. Yeah, well done. As always, well, I've been Dawn News and Miss GBNews. Don't go anywhere, though, because Nana is up next and she's always got a cracking show for you. See you soon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Looking ahead, it's going to be a rather cool, fresh night ahead for many. A different story in the southwest, though, quite a warm night to come. And that leads us into a dry, settled day on Monday. Very similar conditions to what we've had this afternoon, all thanks to a ridge of high pressure stretching across the country. Far fewer isobars on the chart as well, so much lighter winds for many of us. Plenty of late evening sunshine to finish off the day. Clear skies across Scotland, northern and eastern parts of England, so turning much cooler here overnight, particularly across Scotland. Some temperatures here not pushing much below the mid to low single figures, so feeling much cooler by Monday morning. But it's a very different story across southern parts of Wales, southwest England. A warm night to come, temperatures not dropping much past the mid single figures. So a warm start here to start off the day, but actually plenty of bright, if not sunny spells. We do have this stretch of cloud across parts of Wales, central and southeast England. This could produce some showers. We may even hear the odd rumble of thunder. Quite a fine start across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. England and also across Scotland. But like I say, quite a chilly start. But actually through Monday, many of us will see another dry, settled day with some sunny spells. We do just have to keep an eye on these showers as they drift their way northeastwards. Once again, the odd spark of lightning associated with those. And then later into the day across the northwest, clouding over here. Once again, the odd shower or two expected. But where we see the brighter weather in the light winds, once again, it will be feeling warm. Highs reaching into the mid-single figures across much of England and Wales. They're a little bit fresher across some northeastern coasts and eastern areas of Scotland. Now, through the course of the night, this band of thicker cloud will start to produce some more outbreaks of rain as it drifts its way northeastwards, a few showers starting to push into the west. And this is a very similar pattern to what we'll see next week, some showers and cloud at times, but actually temperatures increasing day by day, turning rather warm by the end of the week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to grab a chance to live the summer of your dreams.
With a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in tax-free cash to be won.
Someone really has to win it, and it could be you.
For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK.
Oh, thank you. And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
News is completely unique in the way that we interact with our viewers.
Our audience aren't afraid to have their say. They want their voices heard now, and they've got a channel where that can happen.
I find more and more as I'm wandering around, people come up to me and they say, we saw you on television. I say, oh yes, on what? On GB News.
Hello, are you the famous Sue? The whole crew with me here now. We came to celebrate.
It's our job to be the eyes and ears of the viewers.
They are part of the GB News family, and I'm pleased to say it's a very large family.
And if people go to the time and trouble of listening and watching, then we've got to do a good job for them.
Well, I'm here right in the epicentre of the protest.
Here we go again.
You just tuned in. Where have you been?
It is raucous here tonight.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akweya. For the next few hours, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me for the next few hours, broadcaster and journalist Danny Kelly and political commentator Jonathan Liss. Coming up